Hello, everyone. Welcome to what is the first non-cybersecurity related, I should say advent of cyber-related long-form video on this channel. This channel is called ViewpointUnseen, and I think it's high time I share my viewpoint on this particular game. What we're looking at is a game called Cain and Abel. It's made by a developer who submitted it as the entry for the Games for Blind Gamers Jam 5 that was held on itch.io this year. The reason I'm reacting to this is because this person, through I think honest mistakes, stepped into a bit of a wasp's nest that caused them. I don't think they had a great experience in the jam because of that, which is a shame. I think some people came down on the person, and while I absolutely understand why that may have happened, I do feel that there needs to be a place for nuanced discussion about these things, and that's what I'm trying to create here. I'm trying to show off what I, as a fully blind person, think of this portrayal of a fully blind person. I do not speak for all blind people. I'm going to try to speak for what I've seen in the community, but I am not all blind persons. I'm a blind persons. I feel like I have pretty good in-depth knowledge of what I have seen other blind persons do in the past. And through that, I want to show a bit of a lens, if you will, a blind lens, on this blind game that was written by a person who is not blind, who did their research but is not himself blind. I think it's a him. Anyway, yeah, let's just continue. We're on the start screen right now. There's not much happening. Let me press enter to start the game.
Cain and Abel. Chapter 1, The Morning. Your alarm screams into existence at 7 a.m. Same as every morning. You reach over and silence it with the practiced precision of someone who has memorized every object on their nightstand down to the millimeter. Today's agenda: coffee, commute, work. A perfectly normal day. What could possibly go wrong? Choose. 1. Get up and start the day. 2. 5 more minutes.
Now, a couple things here right off the bat. The text of the novel is not, that I could find at least, readable or rereadable with the screen reader. There is a screen reader mode setting in the main menu, but it doesn't seem to work entirely as advertised, and that makes sense. I'm aware that there were some TTS issues with this game. So again, that's not something I'm giving the developer a hard time about. It's just something to be aware of. The choice for self-voicing over screen reader is one that's often made. It often has to do with the fact that when you're writing a story like this, it can sometimes be really helpful to know when a voice has stopped speaking, is done speaking its thing. If you, for example, want to play an audio effect right after that speech. In a direct screen reader interface, you cannot do that. You don't know when NVDA is done speaking, for example. You don't know if the user is pressing control. And if they do that, then your sound effect is going to lose all its theatrical placement. It's not going to be in the place it should be anymore. While in a game sense, I understand why it wasn't done here. In a visual impairment representation side, I would say it's probably good to try to lean into just having a screen reader speak these things as much as possible. And the developer tried. There is, like I said, a screen reader mode, and I've seen it doing certain things, but I've also seen it not work in certain things, and I actually got stuck at some point, so I've opted not to turn that on this time. Now, as for the content itself, the one thing I think a lot of people have issue with is with the practiced ease of memorizing everything down to the millimeter on the nightstand. I think there are people who are blind that do this. I am not one of them. I kind of know where I put stuff on a flat surface, like sort of near this edge or sort of near this side, but definitely not down to the millimeter, not even down to the inch. Maybe down to the side of furniture. Like I know it's on this side of the table or that side of the table. And if I reach for it all the time, I usually can do it without feeling around because I remember where I left it last. But if it's been there for a while, I don't memorize it. I have no idea where it went. Is this fair representation of people with blindness? No, it isn't, because there's no such thing. So many people are in the umbrella of blindness that you cannot really, in theory, give a fair representation of a blind person, because we are people first and foremost. We don't have a cookie cutter blind person to represent. And I think even a lot of blind people forget that. Like, this is a blind person, yes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the blind person that you are. This is not my blindness, but it is certainly a blindness. I've seen a lot of what we're about to see in this game being exhibited by people. So it's not me I'm reading about, but it's certainly a blind character. Let's continue on. Let's wake up.
You navigate to the kitchen. Coffee maker is at 2 o'clock from the doorway, 3 steps in. You could do this in your sleep. You basically are. Your phone buzzes on the counter. It's a text from your building's doorman, Greg. Hey. Elevator is broken today. Just wanted to let you know. He always texts like he's being held at exclamation point. Choose 1. Make coffee, ignore the elevator situation. 2. Reply to Greg with a thumbs up. 3. Check how many floors you need to walk down.
Okay, couple things here. So we just saw an example of that problem you would get with sound effect placement. Right now, the phone buzzed when the voice said the phone buzzed. If you are doing this with NVDA, it would not do that at the right time. It would have to guess at when that's happening, and it would likely guess wrong. So it makes perfect sense here that this is the approach they went with. This makes sense. The clock faces thing and the amount of steps, some people do this. I know a lot of people don't, and that's why it's sort of considered a bit of a... When blind people consider something blind, it's essentially this other the other blind people. The people that aren't me, that are less capable, maybe less well-adjusted to life in the normal quote-quote world. And I would say things like step counting and clock directions for many people fall in that category. I don't necessarily agree. I think there's lots of ways to think about your environment, and if this is one that works for people, then they should use that. It's, again, not something I use. I don't tend to count steps. I go with very difficult to really describe landmarks that I hear, touch, or feel, or any other sense. That essentially tells me where I am. Like if the room narrows because there's a kitchen table, I know I'm in the kitchen, things of that nature. The elevator situation, I have actually had this happen to me. I have been out with people and we have not taken the elevator, we've taken the stairs or the escalator, and we have had people glare at us or glare at the people that were supposedly minding or caring for us, or for me, because they were not letting us use the elevator or telling us to use the elevator, or I guess guiding us into the elevator. This is something that happens. It's very infantilizing. We can walk stairs most of the time. If you can't walk stairs, no shade, but that's a mobility impairment, not a visual impairment. I am not great with balance. I have to touch a handrail to go up and down stairs, because otherwise I'll fall over. But that's not really necessarily part of my blindness. I don't know what that's a part of. That's just me being weird. But yeah, that's certainly a thing that happens. Let's respond with a thumbs up. Let's make because a lot of people think we don't use emoji either. So let's weird out Greg.
You send a thumbs up emoji. Greg responds immediately. Do you need help with the stairs? I can carry you. Carry you. A fully grown adult. Downstairs. Choose 1. Thanks Greg, I've been walking downstairs for 30 years. 2. That's very kind but I'm good. 3. Only if you do it piggyback style.
So This, I think, is actually very apt. People will constantly underestimate us and think that we cannot do things that we've been able to do perfectly fine for years, sometimes decades. I've had this happen when I am trying to cross the street to my house and someone feels the need to help me with that crossing, even though I came from there at some point. I did the crossing myself. So this is actually very apt. I've certainly been in this situation multiple times. I haven't been offered to be carried, but I've had people literally kneel down in front of me to tie my shoes if my 2 shoelaces are undone, which are always undone because I don't know, I just do something with my feet that makes them come undone really quickly. I also have the talent to never trip on them, but yeah, they're undone. Some people have literally just like gone down on their knees to fix my shoelace. I'm like, people might talk. This is kind of weird. But yeah, this definitely does happen. What we're also being introduced to here is the meters. We have a SAS, a patience, and one more meter. Let me check what the other one is. They're like the game mechanics that you would find in visual novels. In this case, we have, patience, independence, and SAS. Where our independence is currently at 0, our patience is at 95, that was that lowering tone we heard, and then SAS is at 0. The sassy responses, what you have to understand, like if people are watching this that are not blind, what you have to understand is that this kind of thing can sometimes happen to a person 7, 8, even 10 times a day. After the X amount of time, you do get impatient. You do get annoyed. It is starting to like wear on you that people constantly underestimate you, ask you completely to your point of view asinine questions. So it absolutely does happen that people get a little snarky in their responses. I've done this in the past. I try not to because I try to keep in mind that this is a person that was not there for the other 7 times this happened today. You'll give yourself, but also, and this is really unfair, but it's true, you'll also give other blind or other disabled people a bad rep because you're being a meanie, because that's how it works. You become the representative of your target audience, let's call it that, be nice, because they likely have never met someone like you before, and that's really how it works in the brain of the common man. Like you are a anomaly. You don't exist in their worldview. So if you then suddenly become this bulldog that just yells or barks at them really loudly because they ask a question, that's gonna stick with them. That's gonna like paint how they view that particular group of people going forward. It's not fair, but it is true. So yeah. We can sass him out. Let's just not. Let's just give him the truth, the god-awful truth of, I have been able to walk stairs for a very long time, thank you.
You fill the coffee maker by touch, finger on the rim to gauge the water level. A technique that has caused approximately 0 incidents and that your sighted friends still think is so brave. Coffee, acquired.
That's quick.
Sanity, loading. You step into the lobby. The familiar smell of industrial carpet cleaner and Greg's cologne hits you. Greg is at 12 o'clock. Hey. Good morning. Greg shouts, despite being 6 feet away. You have never once asked Greg why he yells. You suspect he thinks volume correlates with visibility. Choose 1. Morning, Greg. I hear the elevators down. 2. Wave and head straight for the stairs.
Okay, a couple things again here. First, the filling a cup or filling a liquid container of any kind by touching the rim with your finger and then filling whatever liquid you're filling it with. Yep, I do that. There are devices that do this. They're called liquid level indicators, and you essentially hang them in your cup or thing, and there's little prongs that stick into the cup that will, when they touch a liquid, it'll start beeping or vibrating or make some kind of signal that indicates, hey, stop pouring. And you can usually lengthen and shorten these prongs, so you can sort of set it at how full you want your container to be. I don't like these. I think they're finicky, and I think, they make a lot of noise and they make a lot of pomp for nothing. It can be really helpful if you're not good with, having people stick your fingers in your drinks or in your food, whatever you're pouring. It's a very valid complaint if that's something you have trouble with. But yeah, no, I do this all the time for coffee, for tea, even for hot liquids, although you do pull away your hands before you get burned. That's something you learn pretty quickly. Then the mention of Greg's cologne, that is a thing. Someone's cologne, someone's perfume. I've done that. I have found teachers in high school through that method. I would know where their perfume was sort of wafting off them, and I would know they were nearby. And this was sometimes a way to not have to yell out loud for someone's name to be acknowledged. This is a thing that people do. The yelling and shouting at you and to make sure that you know where they are, that's a thing that definitely happens. People do equate blindness to either deafness, stupidness, or slowness in some respects, so that definitely does apply. I've seen that. I've been there.
You wave and power walk toward the stairs with the confident stride of someone who has this lobby memorized tile
Power
by tile.
walk.
Careful on the stairs. Greg hollers after you. You emerge onto the street. The morning soundscape, traffic at 12 o'clock, a jackhammer somewhere around 2 o'clock, pigeons doing pigeon things at 10 o'clock. Your destination, Beans and Dreams Coffee Shop, 2 blocks north. You know this route like the back of your hand. Which, to be fair, you also can't see. But you know it really well. Choose. 1. Head north, cane sweeping. 2. Take a moment to enjoy the morning air.
Okay, well, I'm going to take a moment to comment on this segment first. Not super much to comment about here. Power walking like you know the place is a very bad idea. Particularly in dynamic space. Do this in your house, no problem. Do this in an environment where you know you have changed nothing, if you must. But power walking anywhere but a place where you have full control over the environment is a great way to get yourself hurt. I'm not saying you can't walk fast. You can. By using proper cane technique, you can actually walk pretty fast. I'm terrible at cane technique, but I can do it. But you don't memorize a dynamic space, because a dynamic space is not static. There could be cleaning products in the way that you could trip over. There could be someone standing somewhere. There could be literally a cat about to trip you up. There is no such thing as a static lobby. Let's chill for a bit. Let's see if that procs something.
You pause. Birds. Distant traffic.
Mm-hmm.
The specific smell of a city morning, concrete, coffee, exhaust, and possibility. It's actually quite nice. You walk with purpose. Cane sweeping in a steady rhythm, tap, tap, tap. The sidewalk narrows ahead, you can tell by the way the echoes close in. Excuse me? Excuse me.
Oh boy.
A stranger approaches. You can hear the specific rustle of someone who is about to grab your arm without asking. Choose. 1. Preemptively say I'm fine, thanks. 2. Stop and see what they want. 3. Speed up, the classic avoidance maneuver.
This person that's coming at us, very, very apt. Happens a lot. Again, I've had people, like I said, fix my shoelaces just when I'm just standing there, people who I've never met before. I have had people grab onto my arm while I'm just waiting at the traffic light. These things happen. Obviously, someone violating your personal space is never a good thing. That's not something you should just let happen if you don't feel comfortable with that. If someone is trying to guide me and they just don't know how else to do it, and they don't know to offer an elbow or to just ask what to do first, that's one of those things that shouldn't be okay, but has become so common that it's just too tiring to keep getting mad about it, in my opinion. Let's just say I'm fine.
I'm fine, thanks. Oh, but you were heading toward the street. The stranger is alarmed.
Yeah?
You were heading toward the crosswalk, where one crosses the street. On purpose. Choose. 1. Yes, that's where the crosswalk is. 2. I appreciate the concern, really. 3. Oh no, the street. Thank you for saving my life. Dripping sarcasm.
Again, this does happen. It's not a good idea to do this. You'll antagonize people, but it is very understandable if it happens. Oh no, the streets! Oh no, thank you for saving me from where I was going to go because I need to go to work. Yeah, this has happened. Let's not be super snappy. Let's just give him the default answer.
Oh. Right. Of course. Sorry, I just, you know, they trail off. You know. Everyone always just, you know. You arrive at the crosswalk. The accessible pedestrian signal chirps rhythmically, the directional tone tells you you're lined up correctly. Traffic rumbles past at 12 o'clock. You wait for the signal change. Someone sidles up next to you.
There we go again.
You can smell patchouli and hear the distinctive sound of reusable grocery bags. Do you need help crossing? Asks patchouli person. Choose. 1. I'm waiting for the signal, same as you. 2. Sure, want to cross together. 3. Only if you can stop traffic with your mind.
Okay, again, sassy response on number 3. I don't know, it radiates this dickish disabled person persona where like you spite people for not knowing, you know, that you're able to do certain things, and they cannot help that. They have never met someone like you before. Getting mad at them for trying to do the right thing, for even like this person is asking, they're asking if you need help. That is a perfectly polite, perfectly fine thing to do. Some people will ask, well, you don't ask a normal person if they need help. You might. You don't know that. And even if you don't, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you do have a sense missing. And sometimes that means that you may not be able to always judge a situation properly. That's just how it is. And I'm saying that as a blind person who is very independent and tries to do things by myself as much as I can, sometimes to my detriment. You sometimes do need help, and that's fine. Let's go number 1.
Oh. Right, of course. The beeping thing. They pause. What does the beeping mean, actually? You explain how accessible pedestrian signals work. Patchouli person is genuinely fascinated. I've walked past these 1,000 times and never knew. That's so cool. See? Sometimes education happens naturally.
Yeah? Mm-hmm.
No pamphlet required. The signal changes, the tone shifts from the waiting chirp to the crossing tone.
Except you use the same tone.
You step off the curb. You cross. Kane finds the opposite curb. Perfect landing. Didn't even break stride. The bell chimes as you enter. The coffee shop soundscape, espresso machine hissing at 2 o'clock, murmur of conversations, the specific clatter of someone typing aggressively on a laptop. You know this layout. Counter is at 12 o'clock, 8 steps forward. Your usual table is at 10 o'clock in the corner. Next, calls the barista. That's your cue. Choose. 1. Walk confidently to the counter. 2. Follow the scent of espresso.
We're not sniffer dogs. Okay. Walk normally, like a normal person. You don't have to show off to the world that you know how straightforward walking works. Just go normal. Don't necessarily go slow, but just go normal. Go walk normal. You're not there to, you know, buy the place. You're there to just get a coffee. Walk normally.
You reach the counter. Hi. What can I? The barista stops. You can feel them looking at your cane.
No, you can't.
Here it comes. Oh. Do you have a menu? I mean, would you like me to? They're spiraling. Choose. 1. Large oat latte, please. Same as every Tuesday. 2. Could you read me the specials? 3. I'll have whatever looks good. Wait for it. 4. Take your time. I've got all day and I can't see the line behind me anyway.
Again, being the dickish blind person. Not gonna do that one. This is always a bit of an awkward situation. A lot of the times menus are not accessible. They tend to be on either a whiteboard or a tablet or a self-service machine, or just on paper. And while there are apps now that you can use to make pictures, take pictures, like Dutchisms coming into the fore here, take pictures of them and have them read to you, that doesn't always work super well. And particularly with AI, sometimes they just make up dishes that aren't on the menu. So this is always a bit of an interesting exchange. Sometimes, yes, this happens quite like this. Like they just sort of shut down and they don't really know what to do. Again, you are not a very common sight for them, probably. Unless you've seen that barista a number of times before, it's sort of half implied that you've been here before and that you know this person, but I don't know. Very fair that this does lead to awkward exchanges sometimes. Asking for the specials to be read to you is a very fair thing to ask. I'm not going to do that in this case, but if you know what you want, you actually don't need to know the menu. If you go to places all the time, you know what's there, unless there's like something new. 1 and 2 are very reasonable things. I'm just gonna order my oat latte, and not something I would drink, but sure. And yeah, well portrayed here. This definitely does happen all the time. So good job there.
Oh, you come here a lot. The barista sounds relieved. Every Tuesday for 3 years. I'm new. The barista pauses. Sorry about the, you know. You're fine. Everyone has a first time meeting a blind person. Yours was above average, honestly.
Yep.
You pay by tapping your phone. Contactless payment, one of civilization's greatest gifts to the blind community. You step to the side to wait. Someone approaches. Excuse me, do you want me to tell you when your coffee is ready? Since you can't see the counter, they call your name when it's ready. That's literally the system. For everyone. Choose one. They call out names, so I'm all set. But thank you. 2. Sure, that'd be nice. Pick your battles. 3. How do you know when yours is ready? Oh right, they yell your name. Say.
No. Again, I want to say that these answers are overblown or exaggerated, but they really aren't. There are people that are exactly like this, and no, just don't do that. Don't be a dick. In this case, I guess just telling them that they call out the name. This person may not know. They may not have been here before, so we'll just give them the loop. See what they do.
Alex. Large oat latte for Alex. You navigate to the counter. Reach. Your hand finds the cup in the designated pickup zone. Still warm. Perfect. Coffee in hand.
Why wouldn't it be warm?
Next stop, the office. Just 2 more blocks. Choose 1. Head to the office. 2. Sit at your usual table for a minute.
Again, usual table implies that you know there's no one sitting there. You haven't been to that table yet. You don't know if there's people sitting there unless they might just not be talking. There might be someone just hanging out. Let's actually just do that. See if he trips over a chair or something.
You navigate to your corner table, 10 o'clock, past the wobbly chair, still wobbly, left at the support column. You sit. Sip your coffee. For a moment, you're just a person enjoying their morning. No cane, no assumptions, no pointing. Just coffee. The moment is interrupted by someone at the next table whispering, not quietly enough, it's so inspiring that they can get coffee by themselves. Inspiring.
I was kinda hoping
Getting
this would
coffee.
happen.
The bar is underground. Choose 1. Let it go. Not every battle needs fighting. 2. Turn toward them. Aw thanks, you're so inspiring for using a fork. 3.
No.
Say loudly, it's so inspiring that sighted people can dress themselves.
No. No, there's no good answer in this one. I don't like any of these choices. I would probably just turn to the person and go, you think so? And then just see what they do. People whispering behind your back, thinking you won't hear them, does happen all the time. It's very common. People will even take pictures of you sometimes. even though that's illegal, but it happens. Both of these responses are super sassy. I don't like it. A little bit of sass is, I think, appropriate here. You can give them a little bit of sweat by, like I said, just turn towards them and like, you think I'm inspiring? How so? Like, why do you think that? And I just like let them sweat for a bit. But loudly saying sighted people can dress themselves and how that's inspiring, that's dumb. And while bouncing the ball back, like by saying you're inspiring for using a fork is a way to do it, I feel it's a bit heavy-handed. The first answer, I don't think being entirely passive is necessarily the right thing either. I think this is a prime education opportunity if you have the spoons. I've certainly heard worse being whispered. Like I said, people being surprised that you're even allowed to be outside without someone guiding you. And you know, the more people you help, the more people they will tell about these things that you told them, and that way you teach it forward to a bunch of different people. And if you're just gonna be super standoffish the entire time, yeah, people are not going to like you. It's not a good idea. And this does happen. I know several blind people who would happily use the second or third option, and then a couple of months later, you'll see a Reddit post asking why they don't have any friends. Like it's give and take, my friend. But yeah, let's just leave this one be for now. Let's leave it alone.
You take another sip. The coffee is good. That's enough. Back on the street. 2 blocks to the office. Your cane taps a steady rhythm on the sidewalk.
Tappity tappity.
A cyclist whooshes past at 9 o'clock, way too close. On your left, they shout, after passing. Thanks. Very helpful. Post hoc warnings are a specialty of the sighted world. You arrive at the office building. I
don't think I've ever seen that.
Revolving door at 12 o'clock. You take the accessible side door at 2 o'clock. The office lobby. Elevators at 12 o'clock. Reception at 3 o'clock. Janet at reception calls out. Morning, Alex. Oh, heads up, they rearranged the 4th floor again. New open office layout. They rearranged the floor. You take a deep breath. This happens roughly every quarter. You have strong feelings about it? Choose. 1. Janet, please tell me my desk is in the same spot. 2. Do they know there are blind employees on that floor? 3. Cool. Love surprises. My favorite thing.
Okay.
Utterly deadpan.
The first one is a fair question, although it comes across a little needy, like, oh, please don't tell me that the desk moved. When this happens, and this happens in offices relatively commonly, really just find a colleague and ask them where your desk went. Again, don't like option 2 and 3, we'll do 1.
Janet pauses too long. That's a no. Well, they moved you by the window. They thought you'd like the natural light. The natural light.
No.
Or the blind employee.
No.
Someone made this decision.
No.
With confidence.
Don't.
The elevator arrives with its familiar ding. You step in. The buttons have braille labels. A small thing. But in a world of touchscreen elevators, a huge thing.
Fair.
You find the 4 and press it. The elevator begins to rise.
It does that.
4, announces the elevator. Good elevator. The elevator opens. Immediately, the soundscape is wrong. The echoes are different. Familiar landmarks, the water cooler hum, the printer's idle whir, have moved. Your mental map of this floor, built over 2 years, is now a work of historical fiction. The echo comes back soft and wide. Open floor plan. The walls that used to guide you. Gone. Choose.
What?
1. Systematically explore, follow the left wall. 2. Listen for familiar sounds to orient. 3. Call out, hey, anyone want to tell me where my desk went?
Tone of voice is key here. Like if you do it in a jokey manner, like, hey, where'd my desk go? I can see that being a thing. And if you have colleagues that know you well, they'll come help you. What you could do here is the first one that is systematically explore. The thing is, this is a wide square room, I think, so you're just going to get the edges if you do that. It might be a way to show off passively that you don't know where your desk is, though. That's probably the option I would take, and usually you stand off like a sore thumb if you do that. So someone who knows you will see you and will come help you.
Left wall technique. Classic. You find the wall with your cane and follow it, building a new mental map as you go. Wall, wall, opening, that's a doorway. Continue. Wall, desk, someone's desk. Their keyboard clacking puts them at about 3 o'clock. Oh, hi Alex. Your new desk is just past the big plant. The big plant. Yes. You will locate the big plant. Bye. You sweep your cane and find it, a large pot at floor level. From here, Janet said northeast corner, so,
Did
right,
she?
then straight. You find your desk. Chair, keyboard, monitor that you'll never turn on, and, something on the desk. You pick it up. Paper. A printed note from management. Not
You're
in
fired.
Braille. Not an accessible email.
You're fired.
Not even a large print handout. Just a regular printed note,
Fired.
sitting there, radiating good intentions and zero follow-through.
Fired.
You appreciate the thought. You really do. It's the execution that needs work. You sit down, arrange your space by touch, keyboard centered, phone at 2 o'clock, coffee at 10 o'clock, always 10 o'clock, reduces spill risk. Your computer speaks to you through your headphones as it boots up. The screen reader's familiar voice is almost comforting. Your digital world, at least, was built for you. You settle in. Emails, code reviews, meetings. Your job doesn't require eyes, it requires brains. Nobody's yet invented a disability for that. A coworker swings
Wait, what?
by.
Yes, they did.
Hey Alex, we're doing a team lunch. You in? Normal question. Normal invitation. No pity, no condescension.
Too much.
Just
Text.
lunch. Choose 1. Absolutely. Where are we going? 2. Only if someone describes the menu to me in a dramatic voice.
Good Christ, this guy. Couple things here again. Some people are really helped by things like go towards the big plant. Some people really aren't because you don't know where that plant is yet. I don't think we were ever told the direction. We were just told that it was near the window because of the natural light. Oh, I forgot to put a comment on that. Some people like being in the sunlight, okay? Even if you can't see it, you can feel it. You get the vitamin D. So I was sort of having a bit of a moment where like, no, you don't get to be the whole, oh no, blind people don't need light. Yeah, they do. They're not bats. They're not allergic to light. Light still helps in a lot of little ways that you maybe not be able to see. But hey, maybe you have light perception. You can see it. I don't know how blind this person is. But the digital world being built for blind people is ludicrous. That's just not a thing. Like, I see null exists for that very reason. It's very much not a thing. You definitely need to work with tools that are not accessible. So yes, you do sometimes need eyes. Even as a developer, you'll have to fetch a colleague to help you with things sometimes. It's becoming less common, particularly with the advent of the dangerous AI creature. But it is certainly still true that you're going to need eyes sometimes. Sorry. If you need to drag a task to done on your review board and it's a thing that doesn't support keyboard navigation, someone else is going to have to do that for you. If you need to make a PowerPoint presentation, it actually needs to look really good with nice color contrast and spatial use of images and things. You're going to want someone to look that over. You can sort of do it up to a point so you're by yourself, but it's good to have it checked over because screen readers are notoriously bad at that kind of thing. So yeah, the idea that digital world is made for blind people or has no obstacles in it is laughable. Fewer, and they're easier to deal with, I think, sometimes, depending on what you're doing. But yeah, the whole no condescension, just a normal question bit. that is a mood. Sometimes when you are among people that know you and you don't have to constantly teach people or get people to not be super awkward around you, that can be really, really helpful and really sort of deburdening. Like that unburdening, I guess, is a word here that we could use. It means you can be a person as opposed to like a zoo animal, and that's not an exaggeration. Sometimes it really does feel like that. Because you are, to a lot of people, alien. You're foreign. You don't really work in the same way they do, and that can sometimes be enough to create this artificial wall of separation between you and the rest of the world. And that can be a very lonely thing. It can also be a very draining and demotivating thing. So when you don't have to do that, it can be a really big relief. You don't have to worry about it. Number one. Let's say sure. Let's go with them to lunch, and I think we'll call it when we actually do go to lunch.
That new Thai place on 7th. Supposed to be amazing. A perfectly normal day, complete.
Oh, we're done.
Final stats, patience remaining, 72 out of 100. Independence points, 75. SAS points, 10. Total score, 157. The navigator, you carved your own path today. Every situation in this game is based on real experiences shared by blind and visually impaired people. Dirtbug Games is not vision impaired, but hopes this conveyed the experience on a basic, crude level. Research sources are listed on the itch.io page. The humor comes from recognition, not mockery. If you're sighted and played this, now you know. If you're blind and played this, you already knew. Either way, thanks for playing. Choose.
You're welcome.
1. Play again. 2. Sit with the experience.
Sit with the experience. I can do that without pressing a button, thank you. But yeah, we did the entire thing. I didn't know if we would, but we did. All these things are up to a point things I've seen in the blind community. I have not seen many things here, and the ones I have seen I've called out, but I have not seen that many things here that are outright entirely wrong. But there is no resource listed, at least that I could find, that shows us where he got these experiences from, and maybe that's why people got a little upset with him. The tricky bit with representation, I feel, is that if you don't feel represented, and you're a minority, then that's the representer's fault. Even though that's not how it works. Like, you're just not, you're a minority within a minority. You're a unique individual that may not always ascribe to all the things that a minority stereotypically ascribes to. So it's one of those things where, I don't know, it's a sighted person's view on blindness. Of course it is. That's what this is. This is not a blind person, and they did their best based on what they've heard, and I think they did a really good job. The big hot potato here that I think we are turning around a tiny bit is this a good thing to show sighted people to get a blind person's experience in general? And that's a hard one to answer, because now we're taking representation in the sense that it's been distilled out of stereotypes and specific stories from specific people. We're mixing them together to form a blind person persona, and we're feeding that to people who've never met a blind person before to essentially form and prime their image of a blind person's experience. And that's not the representer's fault. The tricky bit here is that people do think like this. Like, if you see something like this, as a person who's never met a blind person before, you play this, you may very well say, okay, now I know how a blind person works, or I know how a blind person feels. And that's just not how it works in life in general. Doesn't mean that this game is bad. It means that the assumption that playing this gives you an idea of how a blind person always feels is not a good assumption. But that's not the fault of the assumer. That's the fault of just how people work in general. I think this person got flack for this game. I don't think that was deserved. I don't think that was necessary. I hope I hope they don't like feel turned away from gamer jams. I hope they're back next year, and I'm very curious what they'll do next. And I hope that people, when they see this, are able to nuance their criticisms a bit. They stepped into a bit of a wasp's nest without realizing just how sensitive representation currently is in this community. I have never really put huge stock in representation myself, because I am me and I'll represent myself when that's required. Is this the worst thing they could see in that vein, like seeing their first experience as a blind person? No, I think it's pretty okay. But it's just not gonna cover every blind person, and I think that's okay. I think that was never the intent. But on the whole, yeah, this has been my reaction to this gamer jam game. It's been an adventure. Thank you so much for watching this with me. I hope this is a sign of things to come that I made this video. I've been meaning to make long form videos more often. If you like this kind of content, I have to say this because YouTube. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe and all that stuff. Like, subscriptions really help the algorithm, and I'm really doing this channel to teach people and to show people my side of things, which is sometimes the blind community side of things and sometimes just my own. But it's very much a viewpoint unseen by many. So I hope to make it seen by these kinds of videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.